Hello and welcome, everyone. So tonight we have a really wonderful guest, Deo Palma. He is a visionary author, a spiritual environmentalist, and a humanitarian devoted to the awakening of Maharlika, the search and the sacred identity of the Filipino people. With over 25 years as a yogi monk and a lifetime of service, Deo blends spirituality, ecology, and social justice to his living mission. He is the founder of the Confederation of Maharlika Society on Kasama and is the author of Maharlika in Search of Identity, which we publish at Radhaa Publishing House, as well as contributing to Awakening Starseeds Volume 2 and 3 and Poems from the Heart. So he is a very cherished author. He is also running Maharlika Paradise, where he leads efforts to protect Indigenous communities and educate children to preserve biodiversity, guided by deep commitment to universalism, compassion, and soul sovereignty. And hello, Deo. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So I've had the great joy of actually visiting Maharlika Paradise, and I was able to stay there because it's something that you nurture and take care of. So maybe we could just start off by, letting people know a little bit about Maharlika Paradise and why it's so special, where it is.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Radha, and to your Radha House publication, uh, because we were able to publish this book. Of course, Maharlika Paradise is not the physical paradise maybe in our mind, because my facilities and structures are not that really excellent. But it's a paradise in the mind. You know, when you go there, I assure you, or if anyone goes there, I can assure that they will have peace of mind and peace of heart, because we were able to protect and conserve this piece of land for over 2 decades.
Wow.
Actually, this land does not belong to us. It belongs to the government, in particular to the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. But they entrusted us to develop it, to nurture and protect those trees that was planted 40 years ago, so that it will not be cut off and turn into charcoal, or people will come and destroy the biodiversity. So this became a place for meditation, for spiritual seekers, for those who want to have a commune with nature and to their inner self.
Mm.
It is just 1 hour from Quezon City,
Huh?
one of the biggest city, and Metro Manila. And it's really a beautiful place. It becomes the headquarters of our uh, revolutionaries during the Spanish uh, Filipino War. And it is where the cave of Andres Bonifacio, one of our national hero, is located.
Hmm.
And also becomes the Japanese Imperial Army headquarters during the Second World War. And it's very, where they surrendered to the Allied forces, of course. It's a very historical, and actually it is pronounced by the government as a living monument.
Mm. Wow.
And now it is a candidate for
Wow.
UNESCO heritage.
Mm. Amazing. Well, I've seen firsthand what you've done with it, and I can attest that going there is such a spiritual experience, and one of the reasons why it's so magical is because it's set. You have to actually take, you have to take a boat in all
Yeah,
the way down into there because it's so secluded, and then it's right on a mountainside, with all the wildlife. And I think you had some beautiful birds. You had owls that you were taking care
yeah,
of.
right. Because now it's the BAMS of DENR. BAMS means Biodiversity Assessment Monitoring System.
Hmm.
So those endangered species or those species being surrendered to the agency, uh, we set them free in Maharlika
Hmm.
Paradise, send them back to nature. First, cure them, take care of them, and then when they are strong enough, then we let them go to the
Yeah,
wilderness.
that's
So,
amazing. And you also have a preschool there, and
yeah, we have a preschool right for the
Mhm.
community.
It's very nice. I mean, it's a very nice structure. So it's a good place where kids can learn. And I recall we did a mass feeding.
Yeah,
You managed.
remember that
Yeah,
we did mass feeding to the indigenous peoples, to the Dumagat.
yeah. That was amazing. I mean, what you've done, maybe with little resources is unbelievably inspiring and should inspire people to know you can make a difference with very little or you need some resources, but the fact that I remember you had a huge pot, and you just put it over a fire. You didn't have like all the fancy things, but everything was really clean, pristine, and you brought all that food and you made a huge meal. And we took a boat over up the river, and
Mhm.
it was such an adventure. I mean, we went through the mountains. I guess the it was could you tell us about the indigenous tribe that we visited?
And you were caught by a
By
strong storm in the
oh,
middle of the river. You
oh,
remember that?
oh my gosh, I remember. Yeah, that was a
Yeah, and
little
I could not see the boat, and I was so worried. I
yeah.
thought that was really, I mean, the spirit of dedication and sacrifices just to reach the mountains and serve those indigenous children.
Hmm.
Really
I remember that
remarkable, I think.
yeah, it's remarkable. But when you go on a journey like that, it's such a journey in your heart, in your mind, in your body, in your soul. And you're just like, we got to get there. I forgot that the boat almost sank because there was a storm. And
Yeah,
I mean, to me, I just thought it was the best thing ever. We just had such a great, it was just, I felt so alive. And I think
yeah,
that when you have a purpose that's bigger than your own little self, you come alive, you feel alive. And when you're doing it with a community, that's one thing I really admire about you is that you have the ability to bring community together in a way where I mean, nobody's having issues with each other. Like our purpose is so meaningful that it's way bigger than our small self. So we don't have time to argue with others. We don't have time to, be, immature. We're doing something great. And when you do something great, the greatness inside of you comes out, you know?
we are just focused.
So focused, so focused. That was a
So focused
track. I was like, that
that
was
even the storm cannot stop it.
yeah, that's right. Because we
I
had
mean, you are so focused on that
I was
boat.
so focused. I'm like, we got to get
Yeah,
there. We had two boats. We had two boats that we
yeah,
brought,
yeah.
and we had how many people were on that, little expedition?
Maybe you're both, maybe you're four, and then we we did not ride on the boat. We just
Oh, you
walk.
didn't. Oh, you guys didn't.
Yeah, all
Oh,
the way, yeah,
okay.
because of the storm. You know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you guys, I remember, yeah, you guys took the trek and then we took a boat. I think there was four of us in the boat. So
Yeah,
it all worked out. And it was such a great, we have, photos of that and that was just such a magical experience. I want to thank you for that because it really opened my heart and
appreciate, man.
you inspire me so much because I mean, people would just give up under the circumstances that you have to work in, but
Mm,
you don't find those excuses. You find the reasons to move forward. We also did something, there was a big storm there and like the roofs came off and in the
yeah.
villages. And then you helped bring that together and help,
Mm,
you really a community leader. And that's like such a great example. Like a community leader gets out and does the work. You have a way of just bringing everybody that you meet to get involved. And so if people want to be a part of this or get to know Maharlika Paradise or visit you, volunteer, how can they do that?
well, they will just contact me. Maybe uh, if they are based in the US or in
Mhm.
US, they can contact you first. Then let me know. They should tell their background, their expertise, and like that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Because I mean, like, you have like they're very little bungalows. They're made of stone, you guys. They're
Yeah,
bungalows made of stone, but people can stay there because that are
yeah.
helping, and they're very solid, but it's like you will feel the pulse of nature in your feet. You're gonna feel alive, really alive. And it's so beautiful what you're doing and your passion. And now you have your amazing book, Maharlika in Search of Identity. I
And
want
again, I'm really thankful for that.
to
Radhaa Publishing House.
It's an honor. It's an honor. It's such an important book, and I really want people to understand like how important this is and why history needs to be rewritten properly and how, most of the people who have the victories, they have their own little writers and they make up crazy stories about how great they are, but the truth the truth is sometimes different, right? So let's talk about your journey as a researcher. Why, like, what in your soul told you I have to do this?
Sorry.
What is it in your soul that told you that you had to do this?
Oh, what it is in my soul that I had to do this. Actually, for me, uh, Maharlika is a sacred and divine identity for our nation. And that is why it inspired me a lot to, to do those things and to write this book. Because for me, Maharlika is not only a geography or a history, but Maharlika pervades in all the strata of existence, the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. And I believe that Maharlika could shape the character and behavior of a nation because of its inherent value and virtue. Just like what we are talking about integrity, about spiritual morality, about selfless service. These
Mhm.
are the values that we need in order to prosper and move towards a greater vision of a nation where people live happily and prosperous in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think if I'm understanding, un it's important for Maharlikans to understand their roots so that they can understand their greatness because it is from our roots we understand ourselves. You know, some people say don't look back, just look forward. But I believe to truly know who you are, you have to look both back and forward. You have to look every direction. You have to understand where you came from and what.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
because Filipino identity is not really our identity. You know, the Filipinos, they were the Spaniards born in this country. They were known as the uh, insulares, meaning their father is Spanish and their mother is a native. So they were the real Filipinos. But we are not. They called us the Indios or the natives.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I connected Maharlika in our ancient history before the coming of the Spaniards on our seashore
Mm-hmm.
in March 15, in the 16th century, I
Mm-hmm.
can say. uh, Maharlika is a Sanskrit word,
Mm-hmm.
meaning Maha means great.
Mm-hmm.
And Maha becomes Mahar when that greatness is referred to the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. And the letter L there means a cup, a container, or a country. And
Mm-hmm.
it becomes Maharlik. It means small. And the letter A there refers to a feminine gender, to a motherland. And that is why it becomes Maharlika.
Mm,
You
yeah.
know, in short, it's like a great creation or great noble beings.
Mm.
So the Maharlika would like to bring back that identity
Mm.
rather than Filipino.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Agreed. So you spent 25 years as a yogi monk, and I want to know, how did those years of deep spiritual practice shape you as you are today?
Yes, my spiritual practice really influenced me a lot. But then that is also the moment, or that was also the moment that I decided to disrobe as a monk because of that call, an inner call for social transformation and change.
Mm-hmm.
Because wearing a robe, I cannot do a lot of things because it will violate the sanctity, the rules, the policy of being a monk.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's good in the spiritual aspect, but when it comes to social movements, it has some kind of limitation
Right. Restrictions,
because
right?
of its doctrine
Mm-hmm.
and strict uh, rules
Mm-hmm.
and you know policy
Mm-hmm.
that one should follow as a monk.
Yeah. Understood.
Uh, but my practice does not change. My dedication, my uh, commitment to that vision and mission, my practice helps me a lot to make it stronger and more firm to achieve that goal.
Mm-hmm. Right. You have a very strict spiritual practice still. I
Yes,
recall when we visited Maharlika Paradise, like you meditate for a long time. You
yes,
have a certain strict diet. I mean, in many ways, I still see I mean, I still see that you carry that conviction with you, but you're just not having to stay within the confines because any system
Right.
can be very controlling, and it doesn't
Exactly.
allow the person to really reach their full potential because there are always going to be people who have power trip issues who get upset if you want to do more than and so sometimes you have to take things in your own hands, and I really respect you for doing that because you serve the divine. I know your heart and like what you the work you do is it's it's hard sometimes, it's hard. You go back and forth between Manila and Maharlika Paradise, and it's a journey, and it's not like you have full-time funding with that. So, but you always make it work, and so you have a lot of willpower, and like that's very important if you're to do something great in this world. Sometimes you have to take things in your own hands. So good for you.
Right. But I really respect and I really still recommend. Some of my volunteers, they went for a training to become monk, and I encourage them because I know that this kind of life will help them to build their character. Because without character, life is useless. So first and foremost, you have a strong character, you have a strong value and virtue, and that I know that monkhood will really help a lot for their future endeavors.
Mhm.
And my spirituality remains to me because without spirituality, activism is just like an angry mom. I read this in one of the Latino poet. He said that activism is like an angry mom without spirituality. You are angry, but at the end of the day, you go back to the system, you know.
Mhm.
And that is why I can say that, meditation is very important to strengthen the mind,
Mhm.
to connect to the source of idea. And what is that idea? That is the supreme consciousness. So when one meditate, you are thinking about that supreme consciousness, which is the source of all thinking and thoughts. And when your desire becomes parallel with the desire of the supreme, then it becomes your ideology.
Mhm.
And that is why activism for me must be progressive. That
Mhm.
the movement should be moving towards spirituality, towards uh, selfless um, endeavor. Otherwise, those who fight for the goodness of the society today will turn to become the dictator of the future. When they are in power, they forget what they're fighting for. They run for name, power, and money, and forget what they, you know, promise to the people
Mhm.
before
Yeah.
gaining that power. Because that power is so limited in the physical and mental aspects.
Yeah.
If it does not flow to the endless desire of human mind,
Mhm.
which is spirituality, then corruption will come up. Because that human desire cannot be fulfilled by material things. There
Mhm.
is always the thirst for limitlessness. And limited objects such as name, power, and money can never satisfy the human greed.
Mhm.
And that is why there is a lot of corruption in our society.
Yeah.
But when one's desire is spirituality, then there is no question that you have to be corrupt because you know that those things cannot satisfy your spiritual quest. That is why spirituality has an important role in activism.
Mhm. Yeah. What does service to the universe mean to you in everyday action?
Well, in everyday action, you have to see everything as the divine expression of that supreme consciousness. So whatever you do,
Mhm.
it should always be dedicated to the welfare of humanity.
Mhm.
That is, what you think is what you speak, and what you speak is what you do. Because nowadays, people think differently, they speak different things, and
Mhm.
they do different things from what they think and what they speak. There is no parallelism
Yeah.
between their mind, between their words, and between their action.
Mhm.
So spirituality will help you to do what you speak, and what you speak is exactly what you are thinking.
Yeah. That's so important. I think that's such a big I mean, we can see a lot of that coming out. People say one thing and then do another. All the corruption's coming out. So but the society makes it easy for people to hide behind their actions and their words and their actions need to come together. So, okay. Maharlika
Mm.
Paradise, you protect biodiversity and support Indigenous communities. What have they taught you about true identity and connection to the land? Like, why is it so important to keep the land, you know,
You
biodiverse?
know, I believe the in cosmic inheritance that the supreme being is the owner of this universe, and it is our sole duty and responsibility to protect our motherland. As
Mhm.
we see that expressions in all living and non-living things, then it becomes imperative that you have to do something for the welfare of all.
Mhm.
And definitely for me, the IPs, they are the wisdom of the past and the key to the future. They are the protector and defender of our natural and mineral resources since time immemorial. They are already there long before we exist, or long before we were born. And by supporting them, we are also supporting the future generations and those who will enjoy the fruits of whatever actions, good actions, and sacrifices and dedication that they are doing for the environment and for the land.
Amazing.
Everything is interrelated and interconnected.
Hmm.
From the smallest ant that grows on the surface of the earth to the biggest sun belongs to one family. And that is why it becomes our sole duty and obligation to protect, to conserve our environment, for our environment is our mother, the only mother that we have in this vastness.